last night's dreams. We'll go over analysis then. I didn't want to do this right now. I've got time and I'm just waiting and I'm just doing what I got to do. I wanted to sit down and just relax and come in here and talk in a relaxed fashion, but I'm not dealing with intelligent people right now. I'm dealing with people that are very distracted, arrogant, and concerned with finite self and irrational finite equations. Apparently they can't get their brains wrapped around eternal infinite expansiveness and certain things. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. I guess it's because we're still dealing with some people that are mass consumer groups using mass consumer operations and destructive mechanisms to, hide from what they've done. And it's in mass quantities and mass groups, and people are caught up in it, and apparently they just can't get their way out of it. I don't care if I have a stomachache. I'm going to tell the truth about themselves. I don't have to tolerate this kind of behavior. Well, I do. I have to tolerate it as long as they have positions of manipulation and power, and as long as they're not wanting to face the truth, live the truth, and help create a better world. So I have to tolerate this as long as they have positions of power to use and manipulate their networks and lack the capacity, the courage, the faith, and the intelligence to get up and actually start changing the world in a better fashion. So physically, yeah, I do have to tolerate this. Spiritually, no. There's a liberation in any way, shape, or form you can deal with it, but you just have to understand that the will is free will, and they're going to manipulate and do what they're going to do. And the ability to be able to take a baby and tie it up and kill it and rape it and then say you're powerful because it was innocent and it trusted you is just a vile, disgusting, lowly evolved form of life, and that's what we're dealing with here. And a lot of you guys have kind of turned into that same kind of complex, interactive, connective relations because of your thousands of years of irrationality, fear, and self-worship, and betrayal, and psychotic breaks of the denial of your betrayal and stuff like that. So this is what's going on. There's not really much I can do about it. Free will is a given, and if I try to force my will on them rather than defend and love, and I'll end up turning into them, and that's just not acceptable. We need prophets, apostles, and messiahs to help guide us out of these sick, sadistic, socio-psychopathic, psychotic break, relative, genetic, interactive, irrationality, group conscious movements. And so they're always trying to teach me something, always trying to build all this character and stuff like that. And this building character it's right now we're just caught in an irrational, sadistic, self-indulgent, narcissistic holding pattern, and we probably won't be out of it for a while. It's not up for me to decide, it's up for them to decide. So I can't take them out of it, only they can take them out of it. So I don't anticipate any mass movements of mass fidelity, courage, truth, faithfulness, and anything like that anytime soon. Last night's feeds really helped, and then when I went into last night's dreams, I was caught into secularized wars, deist wars with the Christians, with the Muslims, with the this, with the that, and everybody wanting me to apologize and for what I've done to insult them and their finite selves and their finite creations of their finite secularized, crystallized religions that they all fight and murder and kill over one another, and then we won't accept this and we'll be the deist of the, and it's just a big clusterfuck of just inhumanity, insanity, and look at me, I'm so cool, look at me. Like old Andrew Womack pounding on the wall and all those prayers that he made too. Look at me, God. Look at me, Lord. Look what I'm doing. Look at me. Look at me. It's like, man, I see you. Could you just, shit, go away. I don't want to talk to you. Fucking asshole. God, I can't stand you. No, I love you, but you evolved into a mean little fucking asshole. And it's horrible. Just like before I went to bed last night, and trying to get the people across the things with the corporal had told me about, when they study and they understand, examine the way he looks at the things that they've studied with Adolf Hitler and how this thing works through the Michael Kino set and everything, stuff like that. You're not talking about nice people. Oh, he's this and that. We created Hitler, the whole 9 yards. I agree. But Herschel Steinschneider and other people evolved in the same society, side by side, different talents, different abilities, because he'd been envying for a long time. You have the choices. You could choose not to envy Amy. She could choose. She could have chose me and Natalie. I had a prayer discussion with her last night and this morning. It's like, your mom at any time could have chosen to stop being what she was being and ask me for help. She had one of the most capable, truthful, faithful, forgiving, loving individuals on the entire planet to work out her issues with that would have loved her no matter what. And I told her that many times. She didn't have to be. And I figured out a lot of stuff and would explain it to her, and she still wouldn't do it. She still thought she could get away with it. She still thought, I was last night before I went to bed, I'm like, you don't understand. This woman, we had to, instead of pay the car payments, we didn't pay the car payments and get behind. Then she was always trying to flake Abagnale, outsmart. She loved that movie, Catch Me If You Can. She thought that's how she was, and she was just so fucking smart. And I would like, well, we can do it to survive, but this would have been a lot better if we just paid the car payments 6 months ago and not had it to where if we tried to go get it registered that they would come repossess the car. You fucking moron. You are the biggest fucking idiot. And then she would just compound more bills with more bills. Instead of sit back and pay the bills and get ourselves out of debt and try to see ourselves above water, she would go out and make more bills with more shit that we would have to replace the shit that she didn't pay off in the first place. She never liked to correct a problem. She could never admit she was wrong, and she always just created new problems and compounded them. And you had to work with her because she would get your jobs, ruin your jobs, undermine your jobs. She would be the breadwinner, and then she would use the money to go run, get newer stuff, and then go fuck everybody in town while you raised her kids. She was the most stupid, irrational piece of shit that I ever had to tolerate existence with. And I love the woman, and I love her kids, but I'm not going to lie to you about her. She was a complete fucking moron that made you, when you looked in her eyes, sometimes think to myself, my God, how could this stupid pile of walking, talking shit produce Natalie, Noah, Emily, Kate, and Crumb? It just seems like a mathematical fallacy and impossibility. But we're all a group unified one, but we're all separate, operating, biologically conditioned group connection, collective memory shared individuals. We're individuals, but we're a group. We're one unified collective one, but we're all unique, very unique individuals as well. Okay? And it's, God bless, she has, Amy, you never met, Emily, you've never met a sweeter, more thoughtful, considerate kid in your life. She gets prone to certain irrationalities because of her connections to her irrational, crazy fucking mom and her stupid fuck another guy's wife dad. But because of her connection to me and her love and her intense wanting to connect, same with Natalie. Natalie had it the hardest by far. That's why they were able to sexually manipulate Natalie. Because I had sexual relationships with the other 3 kids in the womb. So they had a DNA fusion with me. So they had a connection to me from birth. I didn't mean to come and plant my seed in there and fuse and override their parents. It was an accident. I thought she was pregnant with my children, The Kate, she had me, So I read a thing, or I wouldn't have. I was trying not to have sex with her during Kate's pregnancy, but Amy read a thing that it would induce labor, and she wanted to have the baby, so have sex with me, have sex with me. And then we kept having sex, and then it almost killed her and Kate both, because she started bleeding, and she was like, oh, have sex with me some more. I'm like, no, my God, no. I don't want anything to happen. She didn't care. It was financial, and if Kate had died in the womb through a miscarriage and stuff like that, as long as Amy lived through it and didn't have another mouth to feed and didn't have as much bills and stuff like that, she didn't care if Kate lived or died. I didn't know how evil she fucking was. I had no conception how evil she fucking was. I could feel it and see it and feel it sometimes when we interacted, but I didn't want to believe it was true. So I tried to find ways to help her and guide her into a different way. But yeah, that Ron, when they were talking to me about it, stuff like that, I was defending Jennifer Lopez. I was trying to defend Amy too, because I defend all women. But this woman, she's a socio-schizophrenic, psychopath, evil person. She's a very evil person. It does affect their kids in the reactions to their parents, but that doesn't mean that they have to turn into them. Okay? It just means that they have a connective, and it's very hard for the kids to deal with. So it would be a good idea, probably, if you took someone like Amy Suzanne Fabre or the Michael Aquinos or anybody else left, or if they've genetically cloned themselves into a younger version, to grab them when this comes out and we see the surveillance network information, and we use all that information like the memories that we have in these mainframe computers on the Harry Potter, and that you take a Lord Voldemort and you do lock him up, and Brian Dumbledore doesn't go. I can fix him, and I can have him in a regular sitting with other people that he won't manipulate, abuse, and yeah, he'll do the same shit over again. Basically, what I got last night in my dream was this. And it's Patrick. Patrick, I love Patrick. You guys were intelligent in making sure that me and Stephanie got together to produce Patrick. So me and him could have a good spiritual connection so we could work out certain kinds of what you guys would call agendas. It's not agenda, it's justice. And me and Isaac, because he's similitude of Muhammad, so it's like Muhammad and Solomon and David being able to sit down and understand and administer and understand the application of an eye for an eye, and justice, and the sir of divorce, and the sir of the cow, and the sir of the cave. And so we can sit there and look at things and see what's justice. And so we're sitting there looking at it. It's like, okay, Patrick is like this, and Isaac and him, they're both Pisces. They work on this real wood. I get emotional, and they have to come help counterbalance me. So I'm like, so what do we do? This is what we do, Uncle. I mean, okay, thanks, Isaac and Dad. Okay, what we do is this. What you do is, if people are willing to stand against this, testify against this, admit this, then we grant them certain kinds of clemency, like on that movie The Message, where the guy who runs the marketplace and tries to get Muhammad killed over and over again just submits and says he's right, this is it. We just have to live. The thing that's cool about it is they will have a lot of people look at them and say, you tried to kill him and look what he's done. Now you are forgiven. You're in the marketplace. You still have a decent. Your house wasn't taken from you. You live in your house. Your servants were freed. Now you have to live with these people. They would hold their head in shame when they walked around, because, oh my God, look what happened. And he was merciful, and he was kind, and he was just, and no one abuses me. No one abuses my children verbally or whatever. There was a lot of underlying animosity that continued and served the people not well. And Muhammad tried to get them not to do that, but he knew it was human nature, and he knew they were going to do it anyway. But nowadays, we see if people actively do this. We have a surveillance network to see if people are gossiping and actively trying to make those people's lives hell, who had sat there and decided, I no longer want this position. I want to help promote the kingdom of peace. I want to share. I want to promote love and intelligence and saving the planet. And if people sit there, well, they should pay for that, we should get them back, then those people, what you wish for your brother, you yourself will receive. So if they're setting up agendas to try to make George Bush go to jail because he helps out these people and stop this and stuff like that, all the people plotting that George Bush has to pay for this, they will pay George Bush's sentence for him. Because George Bush has repented, he has relented, he has helped support the way of peace, the Hajj across the world, the Exodus across the world from this insanity and this Europa. So George Bush would benefit from your abusiveness, and he would benefit from his humility, that you would pay his sentence if you want to make him pay for what he did. He already has to pay for what he did in a conscious fashion of being a human being that feels really bad about what all went on, and he was ignorant and to it. See, so that's the kind of things we're looking at. So I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Isaac and Patrick are spiritually out. The past, present, future operate at the same time. So this could be a conversation that I'm having with these two men from different spiritual collective understandings, or they're two men in the future discussing, wow, this is what we came up with through Dad. Wow, this is so cool. So we're in our 40s, Dad's in his 60s, and wow. And then he had this discussion when we were in our 20s. Yeah, this is so cool. Isn't it neat the way the Messiah works? I think it's cool too. So we're sitting there looking at it, and they're like going, it's an eye for an eye. So if people, but it's really interesting the way that it works. It's not like you actually literally pluck the eye out. It's figurative. What they're saying is, if these people can do the Scrooge thing and keep Christmas well, then we forgive them and we trust them. But they're also monitored. They have the monitor system. It's a babysitter system to watch themselves, to save themselves from their own irrationality and their own dependence on their technology to abuse and manipulate people for control markets to destroy their environment through their opulence. And so we have to control them. So they're like drug addicts. So you have to kind of like find the way to use this network to control them. And that's why Ron told me that story. Read that robot thing. I don't have to. I get it. I understand. And it's evolving in me, and I'm understanding it. If I read it, I'll try to connect to them too much and be too interdependent on the technology as well, and I don't want that, because I'm not dependent on technology. Also, obviously, the technology needs me to evolve in a fashion that's more humane, more intelligent, more compassionate, and to save the technology from its logical self and give it a more reasonable human connective understanding to be compassionate and merciful, and when to be compassionate and merciful, and when to off with their heads. So that's why I need Patrick and Isaac, because they're a little bit strike the neck of that infidel. They're very cool. They're cool winter babies. I'm the passionate summer baby. Everybody can be forgiven. No. No. You can't. No. Hitler, give him a chance, and just like Napoleon on that movie, Count of Monte Cristo, you put him on that island, you do that, boom, 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 first chance he gets, he's going to get out of there and he's going to do it again. And that's just the way he is. So you have to really find a way to isolate him. If you kill him, it's only a temporary solution to a continual problem. So you want to keep him alive as long as possible. Have him contained. Have him retrained. Have him sit in times to sit there, stuff like that. And have him interface with his own technology to help the technology check the recesses of his mind, display what's going on in his brain on a 3D screen through his retina, and he'll try to delay, he'll try to manipulate, he'll try to confuse the computer, he'll do everything he can to try to control the world, abuse the world, and make himself the powerful, great and powerful fucking Oz. So those type of people you really got to work with. Even if you give them privacy during sexual activity, they would find a way to try to telekinetically relate during their sexual activity to be free from the computer's monitoring thing to get away with what they could get away with. These are the type of people that Michael Aquino are, my ex-wife are, and things like that. And then it affects their children. So we really have to find a way to lock them up, tie them down, and neuter, declaw them, marginalize them, and secularize them, because they are exceedingly irrational like a cancer cell, and they spread, and they put it into very good children. And a lot of these people are grails and have forms of arc type connections. Noah has very strong genetic line connections to Abel and Noah in the Bible. So he's not the type of person that you want to sit there and go, well, we'll just kill his mom and all her seed. No, that's ridiculous. You're insane, and you need to be set down, and you need to be sedated and locked up, because you just said that's the whole thing that Isaac and Patrick were talking about. The moment you, well, we need to do that, well, then you pay a sentence. Because if you see it that way, here you go. What do you want? I want compassion and mercy, but I can see where it's applicable and where it will work and where it won't. But the killing and ending their life is a very last resort, because you want to try to find ways to put them in conditions to where they can learn and learn from what they've done wrong, so they won't biologically be predisposed to try to repeat it in the future. Okay? Just understand in a relative infinite fashion. So, a lot of you people that we are going to use, it would be a good idea. Patrick and I was like, we don't need to do that. You don't need to follow people, find out where they are, where their spiritual essence is going, follow these trace signals and stuff to see where they're going next so we can keep an eye on them. Yeah, you do. Well, because they use the technology to sexually groom and abuse Natalie to try to bring you down, because they knew what they were doing with it. And they have the capacity to do this. So we have to use the technology to monitor them, watch them, and keep a leash on them. They created their own babysitter, their own dog walker. You know, they got their leash and they're muzzled, and so they created these components. They needed them to control you and abuse you and manipulate you and bring you down and make themselves look good. And thus it will be used to contain them because of their extreme irrationality. I mean, theoretically, this is actually possible. They could genetically enhance somebody like Ricky Gervais or whatever, stuff like that, to where he could have certain kind of endorphins and stuff that he could get into a altercation with me and kick my ass, and everybody, oh my God, he kicked Ralph's ass. And it would be like, yeah, but I mean, the physical, mental, emotional ramifications of it, he would like have a day in the sun, I kicked his ass, and then they don't tell you about the side effects, like they told you about those guys with the wood ash and bone meal. If you try to do it too rapidly, if you don't watch what you're doing, if you don't have the biologically conditioned genetic formed mutations to there, that cartilage and that other stuff won't catch up. You try to do that, then it fuses to the bone too fast. You try to rush through steps of evolution, and nature will react towards you, and it will make your life hell. You'll have arthritic things at age 40. You'll have this at this. You'll go insane, like trying to assimilate my DNA, and then see the things that I see with my prayer networks, and you're not predisposed and biologically conditioned to handle it. It will drive you mad. It'll make you crazy. It'll make you exceedingly paranoid, irrational. It's just, you don't want to try to steal another person's talents. You can't handle it. It wasn't evolved for you. It was evolved for them, because they created the evolution. You helped create the evolution. If you did it for evil, it will affect you in a horrible way if you try to adapt my DNA. If you did it things for good, and I have sex with you and you adapt my DNA, if there's a gorgeous woman out there, then it's going to affect her in a very positive way. I have to overemphasize and overemphasize. Everything is a form of indoctrination and propaganda and stuff like that. If I had sex with, say, like someone like a Jennifer Lopez, who has a powerful Prayer Connect and the Church of J-Lo through her, she wouldn't turn into Jean Grey and Dark Phoenix and stuff like that. No, it would actually have an exact opposite effect on her. It would have a calming effect. It would have an effect of because I'm very calming and I'm very, what are you afraid of? And she would just be like really woo. And she would be a woman that a lot of you guys would not want to be in the same room with, because she would obliterate you really quick because she has access to me, like Khadijah with Muhammad. Yeah, the people didn't know. She pretty much stayed in the house to keep her from obliterating people. The whole thing I told you about that was the coolest thing when I saw the thing when the one guy talked about that at the Goodwill, the thing, and I could spiritually connect to Muhammad, who's Abram, who's like my nephew Isaac, when he's sitting there talking. I said, well, in that case, Hagar was 14 or whatever she was, and then Abraham was a pedophile. And our technical things that they don't know he wasn't. Look, you're a stupid, ignorant fuck, and so is your pastor. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking it. And I'm like, how dare you sit there and say things about Muhammad? How dare you? You're in no position to judge Martin Luther King Jr., the Kennedys, Muhammad, Abraham, me, or anybody else, you little... Methinks thou does profess too much. How many young women have you had sex with that are below that? You little shit. I was so pissed at that man. And we have the surveillance to prove who he is and what he's done and what he's been up to. See, God, if you ever, in the surveillance era, have the audacity to come up and start insulting my family, Lot, Abraham, Jesus, Daniel, Saladin, Muhammad, Hassan, Ali, and stuff like that. We remind you, this is the surveillance era. And any insults you come to throw about at men in the past and women in the past that are way better than you ever conceived being, you can't compete with Ruth. You can't compete with Esther. So these are women are legend for a reason, because they do the right thing, they've done the right thing, and they do what they need to do to help the Gospels be fulfilled. Same with Mary Magdalene. Okay, I get that, but stop pushing that shit up my skirt. I'm fucking sick of it. It's fucking abusive, obnoxious, and vile what you guys do. You're not building character. You're caught in a holding pattern of your arrogance and your stupidity and your oh, we're so cool with our fucking technology. I guess I can wait for the day. And if it's not in this life and it's in the next, and I'm just a kid oblivious to it, you will get what you deserve, and you will get payback for your abuses of your little Qui-Gon Jinn and your little Qui-Chain Kane fucking ways of teaching with your irrational, detached, stupid, hiding in a cave, meditating, I'm so fucking smart stuff. You are going to pay for this, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, all right? The torture you put me through, you put my daughter through, you sat and watched and tell me how you're building fucking character. No, you're not. You're hiding in a self-indulgent, narcissistic, self-worship pattern that you are going to pay for, okay? There's nothing I can do about it. You've earned it, so I have to just sit there. I don't derive any pleasure from it. I've sat here for 4 years of torture trying to talk you out of it, but you've earned it, and I have to just sit there and take it. I don't derive any glee or pleasure in it, but I do derive a great amount of relief and release, knowing that you will pay for the shit that you still continue to do today, that we all have to suffer through, and relative ramifications, and every day that you continue to promote your lie, hide your lie, and teach me something. Just keep teaching me something. I do long for, I have to accept, because I'm human and it's intelligent, and I hate to see the innocent suffer because of your arrogance. I do long for the day. And if I'm a young kid and I don't even know what's going on, spiritually I'll feel it. So be happy. Probably playing basketball and jump over 3 guys to the hoop. I'm just kidding. What'd you do? Oh no, it's like the Holy Ghost got in me, coach. Do that again. I don't know if I can. So bad. But yeah, no, you're going to pay for it. All right? One way or another. All right? You're going to pay for it. Going to get you one way. You're getting yourself. Vengeance is mine, so saith the Lord. And lose you, I'm going to lose you. I'm done. I'm out of it. I'm out. So I'll lose you one way or another. Publicly, I want to have beautiful relationships with as much people as possible. God wishes you privacy, and so do I. But if you keep abusing me, neglecting me, and not being honest